You go to college, you go to med school, you do your residency, your fellow, and there's never any talk about how to run a business. EHRs to me are all horrible and they're very expensive. And I think 15, 18 years, they've really been in practice and there's been no innovation. So we have a doctor who has their EHR and it is robust EHR, but a little antiquated. And they also have the program that'll send out the patient statement and they pay online and send click to pay. And they're supposed to marry, right? They're supposed to have the same information, but they don't. Now it gets confused as to what am I supposed to collect? Does this person owe us $50 or do they not owe us $50, right? Cash flow every business is based on cash flow. Cash flow comes first. How's the money coming in and how's the money going out? Just concentrate on those things, right? Your office manager, your controller, or whoever it is, the owner itself, concentrate on cash flow. The rest is going to take care of itself. It's going to show to the employees. When you're able to have a nice business and everybody's happy and everybody's in a good mood, right? Patients see it. When everybody's smiling, patients see it. Makes it a more warm and inviting office.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ProfitRx by Josh Fertel. Josh, how are you?
I am great, Vivek. How are you doing?
We are making a comeback here, so I'm excited.
Good.
After a little gap on this show, and so I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, no, me also. I think I have some ideas, some things that came up that maybe we can share. Hopefully they'll be helpful to somebody.
Yeah, let's start with that. So it's obviously you are a finance guy for medical practices, and that's the thing. So let's talk about financial literacy. Why is financial literacy such a blind spot for so many private practices, and why is no one talking about it except George?
Yeah, the easy answer is, as everybody says, is that just there's no education given, right? You go to college, you go to med school, you do your residency, your fellow, and there's never any talk about how to run a business. Maybe they think that you're going to just go work for a hospital and be a W-2 employee for the rest of your life. But if you want to open up your own practice, you have to have some kind of knowledge. You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be a bookkeeper, but you have to know how your business is running. And the sad thing is ease of finding that information is just so hard. We work with a lot of EHRs at J3 and finding the reports, and we do this all day. Finding the reports is difficult. As you know, you have hundreds, right, of EHRs out there, if not thousands, and they all have different ways of doing things, different ways of calculating things, and different ways of searching for things. How, if your main focus is patient care, and this is what you've dedicated your life to, where's the time, to go look for the important things like your cash flow and your receivable? Where do you find that time to just start the search, much less get the information? And then how do you decipher the information? So, financial literacy, doesn't have to be, the most in-depth thing that you're looking for. You have, people around you that are doing that, but you have to know the basics, right? You have to have the basics about making payroll and all paying your bills.
How mad are you at the EHR system for not having, like, what's your take on that? Is it easy, very hard? Don't even ask me.
It's funny that you say that, because EHRs to me are all horrible, right? And they're very expensive. And I think 15, 18 years, they've really been in practice and there's been no innovation. Okay. So, AI comes in and now it's a little bit easier to code and send the billing and get rid of scribes, make them, obsolete. An EHR should help you, right? Should help you run your business, besides taking care of patients and putting their information in. This is something that I've been working on. I'll be honest, this is the first time I'm telling anybody. This is something that I'm working on, that EHRs need to evolve, and I'm working on it, daily. to try to come up with something, a nice, easy program that is front and center, where you can see your financials and you can see the money coming in and the money that's not coming in. And, start your day off with that. It doesn't take a lot of time, right? Once a day, you just click on it, see where you are, and you know what has to be done that day, or who to speak to that day, or if you got to get mad at your billers that day. But at least you have the opportunity to see it. So you touched on my mission. Besides growing J3 to be the largest, to have an EHR that is practice friendly. Let's just call it.
In your view, though, what's like broken about how data is presented in today's doctor's office?
Great question. And I have an answer from a meeting that I had just this morning. So we have a doctor who has their EHR, and it is a robust EHR, but a little antiquated. And they also have the program that'll send out the patient statements, and they pay online and send, click to pay. And they're supposed to marry, right? They're supposed to have the same information, but they don't. Okay, so uh, the pay site will not have the same balances that are owed as the original EHR. So the person at the front desk now gets confused as to, what am I supposed to collect? Does this person owe us $50, or do they not owe us $50? So the front desk person, who we have to talk about that also, is the most important person. That's an issue, right? That's an issue. So again, let's go back. Why don't we have one program that does everything, where you don't have to parcel out all these different things that need to get done, so that you can get accurate information? So now we're getting out information. Now the information's got to be accurate also. And that comes down to the front desk, and that comes down to the billing team. Make sure everything's right. It's it's nightmarish, actually.
Is there any clients, without naming them, or any HR where you feel like, wow, they are closer to where you want to be, but actually, in actuality, how close are they? Is it just more like just there's no validations, they just give you reports, like, and what exactly happens?
No, there's none that I would say this is the one to go to. There are ones that are super pricey, which is overkill, because essentially every EHR does the same thing: patient information, codes, CPT, diagnosis, ship it off to billing. That's what they all do. They all are dressed up in a different package, but that's what they all do. Some integrate AI better, and will say to you that, you should have to put this modifier on this, or this modifier, or this needs to change. And that's helpful. It's never going to take over, but it is helpful. $50 a month EHRs are $50 for a reason, right? They don't have the functionality that the others do. They won't have the AI that's included. They won't give you all the reporting that you need, even from a billing standpoint, that we need at the end of the month to reconcile what we're supposed to do. And then you also have to have the, bank accounts of the practices involved, and they're not going to integrate either. So you want to, what we collected, is that actually what's in the bank? So we do that every month. Is there a perfect EHR? Not even close. Not even close. And I don't know how big is, and listen, you have things like Epic, which is like the granddaddy of all EHRs. Nobody that we deal with is at that level. But even that, there was an article the other day of how it's starting to lose its luster, so to speak, because it's so old.
I have a love-hate relationship with Epic, so
Yeah.
it's mostly hate, but yeah.
And an EHR should really just be a tool for the whole practice. And it shouldn't just be input. You could have a spreadsheet. You could do it by paper chart, like they used to do in the old days. If all you're going to do is write down the patient's problems and how you fixed them. Let's come up with something that really just integrates and tells the whole story of what's going on. Does the patient have chronic diseases, where the EHR can suggest that you do chronic care program with this patient? Does the patient have smoking, so the EHR can suggest you do smoke counseling? They don't do that. There's nothing that does it. There's nothing that's proactive that helps you with your billing. What does it show as far as how much you're supposed to collect today? right? We have these patients coming in. We know we're supposed to have X hundreds of dollars in copays and deductibles come in today. The next day, if it's not there, can you look for it? Do you talk to your front desk person? Just make people accountable. But it all has to start with some form of software. That's what I'm working on.
Amazing. And let's touch upon the literacy part a little bit there.
Okay.
So,
I
w-
went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
yeah, a lot of providers think, financial education means knowing a lot of stuff, which is not true. We are talking about your your patient AR and how it's tracked and what it looks like on daily basis, right? So, what does it actually look like to be, let's say, fundamentally financially literate as a practice owner, what you wish they should know? And then let's also touch upon like who's going to teach them, how it's going to happen if they're at not that level. What's your take on that?
I had a I had a conference schedule again. We had this meeting this morning, and we talked about it, and the doctor talked about KPIs and performance indicators. And I saw the number of patients they were seeing was starting to drop a little bit, and the claim amount per patient was really dropping. Okay. So what was somewhere around $400 per patient in claims this morning for this month was under 300. Multiply it out. Now of course that's a inflated number, but the fact of the matter is it's real money. So what are they doing differently? Right. So this is like literacy. What's different? What changed over the past few months that we're not doing the extra services that may be needed? Or, are we going too quickly through our patients? Are we undercoding? All these things you can just check just by doing a little bit of a deep dive. But that's not really financial literacy. That's really, more for a billing partner that is interested in the success of the practice and not just, hitting send. I want them to know how much they have in the bank. I want the tomorrow to have $1 more than it had today after they paid their bills. I want them to not worry about paying rent or paying payroll, knowing what's coming in. Cash flow, right? Cash flow is every business is based on cash flow. Cash flow comes first. And if there's one thing that they have to look at, a private practice owner is where's my money coming from? Is it coming from insurance? Are we doing a good job with our patient payments? Are we, using any ancillary services to create more revenue? How's the money coming in and how's the money going out? Just concentrate on those things, right? Your office manager, your controller, or whoever it is, or the owner itself, concentrate on cash flow, right? The rest is going to take care of itself, when you're doing things correctly. That's the bottom literacy, right? That's baseline literacy.
And of course, you are working on this problem from the other side that you mentioned.
We talked this morning. Oh, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you here.
Go ahead, go ahead.
We talked this morning about the front desk and insurance, and this one practice has a very big problem with getting the information that they need for deductibles and for copays that need to be collected. They had a big problem with putting the right insurances into the system. Huge. So what happens now at the end of the month, you're sending out 500-600 patient statements, which is going to come out to $40,000-$50,000 of real money that hasn't been collected over the past 30, 60, 90 days. And we're sending out statements. So besides the fact that it costs $1 to mail a letter nowadays, so there's $600 right there. We're collecting money that should have been collected months ago, right? That's a big cash flow thing. And we don't, we talk about insurance and you see on the news how insurance companies don't pay and this and that, but nobody mentions patient payments enough. Nobody, especially when 25% of your revenue. And if there's 40 or $50,000 out there that's $40,000 that really is going to the bottom line because the bills are already paid for June and July. This is August money coming in, right? It's all profit. Why are we not concentrating on that? So we had a long discussion with this provider today, and the controller and the office manager, and said, this front office person is not doing a good job. What do we need to do as a team? I'm not putting it on them. What do we need to do on team to make this better? And quite frankly, we get paid on a percentage of what comes in. So we have a vested interest in that. So absolutely, whatever we have to do to make that process better, we're going to do. But the conversation about the front desk and the collecting patient payments just has to happen more. And in the new EHR, it will be front and center of what's supposed to be collected that day. Here's who's coming in. Here's what they're going to owe. Make sure you collect it. And the next day, if it's not there, if the numbers don't match up, why? Who do I need to speak to? So it has to be easy to see and, traffic light, red light, green light.
If I have to break this down, there's two parts. One is like knowing the things they should know. And the second thing is based on the current status of where the operations are, what things need to be possibly done, which is solving the problem or improving the cash flow. So when you are thinking about this problem now, while trying to build something around it, from the tech side, are you thinking in the same way? Is it going to also first educate the providers on, all right, these are the important numbers, you get to see all these things, and then also provide solution? Is that how you're thinking of evolving this thing?
That's how I'm thinking. It is built to educate. It is built to educate. Here's where I am. Here's what I need to be looking for, right? And so now instead of spending, a half hour in the morning, maybe it'll only take you 10 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes in the morning, and everything's on track and all the lights are green. And I've spoken to my front desk person so many times that they get it. And I've spoken to my office manager about, my receivables and my payables, and they get it because I've seen it. I see it right up in front of me of what needs to be done. And when all that's done, that few minutes in every morning or every other day, whatever it is, wipe my hands and I can go take care of my patients without having that on my mind, right? I can concentrate solely on the patient. Built to educate, 100%.
And the practices who are doing well right now, even with abysmal EHRs right
Yes.
now,
Yes.
what do they do right at the moment to get it right, in your opinion?
Yeah. So one of the new practices that we're taking, we just onboarded, they do a very nice job of tracking patient payments. Well, it's actually they do a nice job of that. So they know every morning what the deductible is, how much the copay if there is one, and what it is to collect. They do a great job of that. They don't do a great job of their coding and their CPT codes. So that's where we're going to be able to help them. They were told not to do telehealth because it didn't pay, which is not true. So, we help them there. Every business, right, has things that they do great and things that they do not so great. And always a fresh set of eyes is the best thing. You have somebody come in and look and see you, like, I would do this, or you can do this, or maybe suggest this in a partnership manner, not an accusatory finger pointing, you're doing this wrong. Like, let's do this together. And it makes a world of difference. It does it, it changes the trajectory for some practices when you just add little things or fix little things. But they do a really good job of their collections. They were having communication issues when something wasn't correct, which is going to happen. So, I pride ourselves on our communication, so we'll be able to do a better job at that and help them really just thrive.
What is you know peace of mind as a business strategy, right? You often talk about it. So how does, I guess the question is, hopefully once you have all these things in place and the tech you're building and it's in there, the EHR tells you not just from literacy part, but this thing, what happens then afterwards? Can you also like take us from financial to impact on the patients overall, so people can see this is not just money, right? At the end, there is patient at the end who gets the value out of that.
I get, you want to create a happy workplace environment, and that trickles down to your customers or your patients. So if there's no burden, if there's no underlying, the practice owner is mad because she didn't, you know, make enough money that month. It trickles down, right? It's gonna show to the employees when you're able to have a nice business and everybody's happy and everybody's in a good mood. You know, patients see it, right? Patients see it when everybody's smiling. Patients see it. It makes it a more warm and inviting office, and that goes for any business, not just medical. If there's no stress. If you take out the stress, it's a fun place to work to boot. You know, the employees are happy too, and you know, you get that from I've learned that in the car business. You know, you have to have happy salespeople. Those happy salespeople will create happy clients, and it makes it easier. It just makes it easier. So if the financial burden is not there, imagine, right? Imagine what to do. All you're doing is you're going in and you're taking care of your patients and you're having a great day and you're doing good things and everybody around you is doing good things. And there's no price tag for that, right?
I have to ask you this question because you can sometimes give them the best tools. The EHR will be there, and despite that, the physician owner might not be the person who's savvy about financials, let's say. And in that case, uh, I'm sure the onus falls on company like you if you are the partner, right? J3 is expected to do that. Then uh, I'm sure you have clients like that too. So what's your take on that? Is it okay to have that kind of shared responsibility? And then what can go wrong if you don't find a good partner? Like hopefully it's not J3, somebody else, then there's a big risk, right? So what's your word of caution there?
When we see things that start to trend the wrong way, you know, it's what can we do together? I always say, and I think sometimes it's off-putting to the client, but I consider myself a partner. I'm a small partner. So what can we do to make our, you know, business better? We had a client who lost their office manager suddenly, and they were scrambling. They didn't know what to do. So it was like, well, you know, and they told me, I was like, what can we do? What can we do to help you? You know, here we are remote. And they were so appreciative. And they said, well, we're having a problem with this and this. I said, okay, just give it to us. Let us handle it. We'll figure it out. We'll handle it for you. We have a whole team. We can replace one person easily. If a new office staff comes on and they're again, you know, talk about the front desk and they don't know how insurance works and we have to jump on a Zoom and train them, we're going to train them and in a teamwork way, not a condescending way, not a school teachery way. Like, you know, we're in this together. We want everybody to succeed. So it's an attitude. It's just an attitude of being partners and not being, you know, just another outsourced company doing a task. Would never have in 4 years now. I've never had that thought process where somebody's just giving me work to do and I'm going to go ahead and do it. You know, it's the growth. Everything is based on everybody working together.
But that's like Josh. That's like J3. You
Yeah.
take that responsibility for people who are generally not gonna run into this. What's the word of caution for them? Like, how do they make sure? I don't. What's the answer for them if they're not also
You know,
financially
you got to
savvy?
repeat that.
So,
You froze for a
what?
second. Just repeat that.
Yeah, yeah. What? So I consider your company as an outlier. So you do it. Not all billing companies are doing this, right? So, what's the
I
word
do
of
too.
caution? What's the word of caution for practices to deal with others? What should they do to make sure this goes in the direction how you are explaining?
Yeah. You know what? Make sure that you're communicating, right? Make sure you're communicating, that somebody's answering the phone and they're answering the phone being condescending, or without like, I told you this before, or what are you doing? You're doing it. It shouldn't be like that. And we're not like that. You want somebody that, you know, makes you feel like they're on your side. And we try to convey that because it's true. You know, we are on the side. We're still in our infancy in my opinion. And we just finally, and this is for another announcement, have our first California client. So we are bi-coastal officially. This was one of my goals. So now we have a client in California, and and to me, we're always going to be in growth mode. I'm never satisfied with where we're at. Never satisfied with the job that we're doing, which is a curse, it's just in my DNA. I always think we can do better. I always think we can collect more for our clients. I always think we can be bigger, and and I that it's a company culture at this point. We're all on the same page. Everybody that works with us, everybody, we all work together, and we're all on the same mission. And it comes through in our interactions with our clients.
How much of do you think when you are building this, let's say, this new EHR with financial literacy involved, how much would
Right.
you think that it should be also a good communication tool? Seems like there's a lot.
That's really good. Uh, I keep thinking of things that it should do. Instant messaging or whatever you want to call it, I guess, could be integrated there. But there's nothing better than picking up the phone or jumping on a face-to-face Zoom also to get the information. That's but yeah, no, I'm gonna write that one down. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a lot of things. I wanted to be suggestive of what can be done and really be a teaching tool. But I want the interaction still to be face to face as much as possible and phone call as much as possible. Um, so that's what I would lead it to.
Yeah, there are few companies who came as a, oh, we are a billing but communications company. That's how we do it, and they do like making sure the follow-ups are going to the patients or the invoices are going on time. All that notification, the communication side of billing to the patient. So there are a few companies who've gotten really big in that space, and that's how they started. But I still don't think anybody came close to let's educate, then also guide providers. And I think that is the big deal here that you were saying, which really gets me excited. Like, let's see what happens.
Maybe I misunderstood the question. So the interaction between the practice and the patients is certainly one thing, and yes, technology will be involved in that. But the interaction between us and the provider needs to be a little bit more than just instant messaging and texting. It's got to be you have to have somebody that's going to pick up the phone when you have a question or if you have an emergency. And we do a lot of texting. Don't get me wrong, but we're always on the phone with our clients.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. Last, I would go with a quick fire round that I included this time. So it's a little fun question. So I like to call it literacy check-in. So
Literacy check.
what are
Okay.
yeah? So what are the 3 to 5 numbers every providers should know? What comes to your mind? Let's go one by one and
Yeah,
give a little give a little brief what it is so everybody knows this.
it's going to be your accounts receivable from the insurance point and from the patient point, separate. Two separate things, not just accounts receivable, two separate things, and what you need to concentrate on because it's a different skill set to collect those things. How are we doing with our, you know, cash flow, right? Is cash flow has to be number one, receivables number two. So is the money coming in when it's supposed to be coming in? Are we collecting it at the window? Are we getting deposits every day? What is if there's a holdup? Why is there a holdup? Do we have patients that are a problem with their insurance? Have we seen a patient a couple times in the past couple months and not getting any money? Where's the problem there? So cash flow, receivables, I mean, that's one and two. You can put them in whatever order that you want. Expenses, it really, doesn't matter how much you make, it's how much you keep. I'm staffing, am I overstaffed? Should I be outsourcing some things? Revenue, is there, what other opportunities for ancillary services am I not taking advantage of? Allergy testing and pulmonary testing and chronic care management, which is the greatest thing ever invented. Remote patient monitoring if somebody's not in Medicare. There's, so all the revenue streams. I don't know, was that four, five? That's four.
Yeah,
Five.
5.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you covered 5, so that's good. Okay. Well, that's our digest for today's literacy or financial literacy, which is what I
Yes.
feel like we should make everything about financial literacy now. So for you to, this is the I think EHRs first came for patient data. Then
Right.
the second thought was like, oh, how do we improve patient experience? So improve the
Right.
communication side of it. now I think it's the third core important piece is how do we make sure that the practices are running alive, good financially, and that's how they grow. Then everything is
Yes.
solved, right, in a way. So I think that's the missing
Yes.
puzzle, and
And I
what you're
will,
trying to.
that's what I'm trying to
Go
do.
ahead.
I'll keep you posted as we move along, but it is something that we're working on. Yes.
All right, cool. Well, you heard it here, and you'll be hearing it more from Josh and how this turns out. And reach out to Josh if you need anything. That's and of course we'll have all the details how you can connect with Josh. But once again, Josh, thanks for sharing the literacy part that everybody learned today, but also your vision and what you're doing.
Thank you. I always appreciate speaking with you.
Thank you.